Welcome back to the WatchTower podcast, the film review podcast of the TowerCast network. We are live at Aaron and George's Film Cafe tonight.
Once again,
this is our second time. It feels great. It feels great.
We have a
lovely audience with us.
They're clapping.
Stuck around for the podcast after the film, so thank you guys. Give yourselves a round of applause.
Yes.
That's what they were doing from the beginning. It wasn't for us.
It was not for us. You're absolutely right. I am joined by my fellow co-host, Mr. John Eric Castro.
How you guys doing? I'm also the actor, so I'll give you the actor's perspective.
Absolutely. Mr. Michael DeLo.
Hello, guys. Hello, family and friends and everybody who's come out.
Mr. Michael DeLo is a cinematographer. He gives us a cinematography perspective.
Thank you for that clarity.
Terrific.
And host with the most.
Host with the most.
Packing where you're lacking.
Jeez.
Carlos.
Yeah.
Della Torre.
Carlos Della Torre, your fellow writer-director. Giving you some perspective on this lovely film. But before we move on and introduce the film, I gotta make sure to give a shout out to Mr. Austin Young, making sure that we're sounding great out there. I was gonna do a review, but it's out. Thanks, guys. So we're talking about the
Hello.
Family Man,
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, thank you, Austin. We're talking about Brett Ratner's Family Man, starring Nicolas Cage and Téa Leoni. We talked about how the first time we saw her was in Bad Boys.
Yeah.
Which was interesting. I mean, she's done quite a few films, but
she's one of my first crushes when I was a little kid.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. Yeah. So seeing her in this...
That's going to make this a weird
I don't know if you guys seen Bad Boys,
right.
but she comes out on that one. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Calm down, sport.
So this film was first brought to my attention during the pandemic by none other than Mr. Michael DeLo.
Yeah.
And this film was brought to our attention for a couple reasons. First of all, he mentioned that it's his family's go-to Christmas movie.
Yeah.
And it so happened that this week on this podcast, we each take turns to pick a film. We do this podcast weekly from the studio, and then once a month we do it here at the cafe. And it just so happened that this week, was going to be Mr. Michael DeLo's pick. So he's like, well, let's do a Christmas pick. You know,
I was feeling festive.
Yeah.
You know?
And so you mentioned that it's your family's Christmas pick. But before we kind of dive a little deeper into that, I want to mention, if you haven't checked out our episode with director Brett Ratner, we talked to Brett about this, and he's become a fellow friend of Towers. And shout out to Brett. I'll be sending this to him as well, so I'm sure he'll get a kick of this conversation. And thank you, Brett, for talking to us about the film. So go check out the Brett Ratner episode.
Exactly.
He actually tells us a lot of great insight about the film and how he kind of got it made and why he made it and stuff like that. So check out that episode and come back and check out this episode. But he's on the other side of the world right now. He's going to call in with us tonight, but he's a little busy. He's a busy man. But
hopefully, yeah.
Well, yeah, we'll see, right? But I'm sure he'll check out this episode. So go check out that episode. Get a lot more insight about what we talked to him about, and then we're just kind of do a deep dive of this film. But. Yeah. When did you first see this? Because I hadn't seen it. I probably hadn't even heard of it until you brought it to my attention.
It's one of those things that, where you think something's normal, and then not until you show it to other people, then you realize how weird it is. It's kind of like that, because...
Weird?
This one?
No, not that it's weird. I'm saying that with my family, This is a traditional... film. It's like people putting on, like, I don't know, Peanuts,
a Christmas Story.
Yeah, and I don't know. This is just always played. Blame the people in the back. And we always throw it on. And I guess it's also one of those where by seeing it once a year, you also kind of see how you age and how you reflect on the film. So it's a really nice kind of cornerstone, I guess, in the year.
So instead of Christmas Story, The Grinch...
Yeah.
You go to this one.
Yeah, forget laughing. Forget feeling all festive and seeing presents.
You want life reflection.
Yeah, I want to think about how I should have gone with the girl at the airport. You know, there we go.
Sure. Somebody texted me, a fellow friend in the audience tonight, and it was like, what in the Carlos Della Torre films are we watching here? That's funny. Before we get deeper into this, ratings, guys, ratings. I want to do something different. This is our Christmas pick. This is our Christmas episode. This is going to drop a few days before Christmas, so you guys can check it out and have that discussion. Maybe even check out the film on Christmas. So I want to do 2 ratings because in my personal opinion, this film falls under 2 categories.
Okay. A
general picture that we want to discuss and a Christmas film. So where does this rate as a Christmas film?
Oh.
And where does this... Oh, that's fine. That's fine. And where does this rate as a film?
Man.
Any other film you've seen?
This was my pick, and I'd like for I'd like for Castro to go first.
I put you on the
Yeah.
spot, man.
So that way I have time to think.
So which one? Just film in general or Christmas?
As a Christmas film, Santa Claus.
So you want the bad news first?
Oh, God.
Bad news bears.
Okay.
What do you want? I mean, we could do this like if it rates anywhere on your top 10, or you could just give it a number. As a Christmas film, what's your number? Not like top 10 films of whatever, but like
a rating?
Yeah,
for
rating
Christmas.
For Christmas.
Well, it did take part in Christmas, I guess.
So man, you guys feel like it just didn't. Oh man.
I think
'Cause I know you mentioned that,
as a
like-
Christmas film, it's gonna feel I think divisive.
I remember when
because-
we get to the Valentine's Day scene, you're like, whoa,
Yeah,
what happened?
I don't remember.
We were just
that.
in Christmas.
I
like,
don't
yeah.
remember that it was that big of a difference, but
Right.
we'll talk about that more, I guess, right now.
Okay, ratings.
So as a Christmas film, I guess I'll rate it a solid 8.
Wow,
Wow.
that's pretty high.
It's pretty high, bro.
I mean,
I'll give you my film plan.
five, 8. Okay.
So I'll give it an 8
I
just
thought you were
because.
gonna give it like a 5 or
Same.
a 6 as a Christmas.
It's because I'm
film.
comparing it to other Christmas films, so it's just
Yeah,
kind of like
sure.
you know,
It aligns with it. Checks all the boxes, right?
Yeah.
Sort of.
But as a film, I'm really I don't know if that's the correct term, but I'm a sucker for films where it asks the questions. What if you would have went right instead of left? And I love those films, and I think this film
These
perfectly
what-if
captured.
pictures.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'll give it. You picked it.
I like films.
An 8.5
8.5. That doesn't hurt
As
too
your
much.
general
That's-
rating, or as your Christmas like
as a general rating.
as general rating. So
Okay,
8.5.
8.5.
Yeah.
General 8 for Christmas.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Carlos.
I want to hear Austin's before I
Oh,
we get
okay,
mine,
okay.
Right? Austin, what's
Man in the back.
what's your rating, pal?
Fun fact about Austin, since he's on a camera right now, he's wearing a Diablo's hat.
He sure is.
Look up that on the internet later on.
Do you even know who the Diablos were?
Rating.
Rating.
Christmas or general?
Both.
Both.
Christmas, I give it like a 6.5.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay. I'm so sorry, Brett.
Yeah.
He can't see me. It's okay.
You connected with me.
As a general, I'd give it like a 6.
A 6, like as a general, like your general kind of. All right,
Wow.
Whoa! Why though?
You don't pay me. You don't get to hear my reasons.
Like,
Like,
you like the
most
ending,
Christmas
or it was
episodes,
just
we're starting off on
disappointing?
a sad note.
Yeah.
But
We really are a
Christmas,
divided nation, aren't we, though?
It's going to save the day.
Cool. I mean, that's fair. That's fine.
So-
do you want to give any reasons for it or not really?
No.
Not enough Christmas trees.
So
Yeah,
I guess we
not
could,
enough Christmas in it.
Okay.
I
fair.
guess we could sum it up that he didn't like the film, then, right? A 6 is pretty
Hey.
low.
That's passing.
It's
in some,
barely,
passing?
he barely
in
liked
some
the film,
schools.
I
Like,
guess.
that's a D.
Some school is a D,
Yeah.
dude.
Inner city schools. You barely passed the film. Okay. You know what? I this is the second time I watch it. I think second, third time maybe. I think my Christmas rating, it really reminds me of like It's a Wonderful Life, and the more I read about it, actually, it does align with all that, and it's this Jimmy Stewart kind of version of Nicolas Cage, and or Nicolas Cage version of Jimmy Stewart for It's a Wonderful Life, and it holds a lot of the same
Stewart, yeah.
values. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a Jimmy Stewart, man. But,
Yeah, exactly.
But no, I mean, obviously, It's a Wonderful Life is a classic, and there were a lot of nods. For instance, we can get into it a little later, but for instance, anytime there was snowfall, that's when a change was happening to this character, and that's a direct homage to It's a Wonderful Life. Stuff like that. So I like that Brett drew from that and was unapologetically making kind of a modern It's a Wonderful Life with a twist at the end.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that. So as a Christmas pick, I think I'd put it up at about an 8. I'd say about an 8. I mean,
Okay.
it probably wouldn't rate in my top 10 Christmas films, but I'd give it about an 8.
You're killing me,
alright, pal.
Smalls.
You know
You want to
what?
end the podcast early?
I'm going to have my own Christmas with this movie and eggnog.
However,
some
a general rating, I think they're pretty even in that scale. I'd give it about an 8 as well. Just general, if I saw this on cable or whatever type of thing, I'd check it out.
Wow.
But I like the arc. I think it's a pretty strong arc for a Christmas film.
It is.
I think it's a pretty strong arc. Generally, the pacing is pretty fantastic. There's a lot. It has a lot going for it, and quite frankly, and I told Brett this. I think this is my favorite film of his that he directed, with the exception of Rush Hour 2. Just 'cause
2? You even went to
I love
2?
2.
You never messed with the original one, dude.
Yeah, but 2's better than the first one. That's That's not an opinion. Rush
Pretty
Hour
good.
2 is better.
Can we get a vote?
But yeah, yeah, you see somebody said too. So yeah, but we told Brett this. Like, I think in terms of an arc, in terms of a character going from point A to point B, this is I think his best directed thing. I really appreciated it.
And what a weird jump. I mean, you do
action
kung fu,
comedies, yeah.
kung fu buddy cop,
right.
And it's like, I want a Christmas
Oh,
with
I have,
Nick Cage.
and there's a great story about, and I'll tell it once I'll give our ratings about why this film got made and how he came attached. So those are my ratings. How about yours, pal?
Well, there's just so many low numbers to start off with. It's
That guy.
really is a wonderful life. I think for a Christmas film, maybe it'll be a little not pretentious, but just I'd rate it higher because I think it's a really good like time and place film. Like when I watched this during the Christmas season, and it's also like the coming of the end of the year, it hits that kind of spot of like reflection and thinking about where you've come from. And there was a Christmas tree, so points.
It's got Christmas.
Points added.
It's got Christmas. Look, in my opinion,
it's based off of another Christmas film,
but
so
it's
it
also
has
got
that
Christmas
texture.
written all over it, the same way Home Alone has Christmas written all over. I mean, it's New York. It's Christmas time.
That's my top 5 right there.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's my point. Like, I do think. I mean, with the exception of like, it really throws Christmas in your face to a certain degree, right? But it's kind of the same feel.
No, I see
So
what you're
I'd
saying.
throw it in there. I mean,
I'd say
I don't think
in the
it's as
background.
reductive as like, oh, we see a Christmas tree in one scene. I think it's got enough Christmas
yeah, it's
going
got
for
enough
it.
Christmas.
And even if
feel.
like it's not in the set design, or if it's not in the, it's in the
story.
feel, it's in the
He messed with
tonality
it.
I
of it
don't
all.
think I could rate this lower than like a 9.
Wow,
Out of-
for
out of-
Christmas?
Yeah, for Christmas.
Okay.
Because this is when I watch it.
Right,
I'm
right.
not gonna watch this
That's
during
fair.
Valentine's or dare I say, I don't know, Arbor Day. No, I'm gonna watch it during Christmas.
Will you wear
What
white
is
after
Arbor
that?
Day?
Or?
Don't you get started with me. No, I feel like to us, I maybe it's the sentimentalism. See, I'm vouching for you, Brett. I think this one just hits really well for the season. It seems to just be it's different than all the other kind of Christmas films,
Yeah.
yet because of, I guess, the story and the way it presents itself, I don't know, it hits the right way with me.
Right.
As a film,
It's got to rank higher, right?
And I love that, like, when Delau rates it as a film, Delau is the guy that asks, does this push cinema forward in any way, shape, or form? You know, so I think that's the question you always ask yourself.
as a film, 8.7.
8.7 out of, okay.
Because
All right,
I think this one, there's something so I think the acting in this one's really interesting, and maybe for
Sure.
me, I didn't see. I was able to get past Nick Cage enough to
For
see
sure.
Jack as a character and to see their bond and connection, and
absolutely.
these moments. I thought they were put together so well. The cinematography, there was very few kind of like big moments.
I really want to talk about that. With the cinematography, because Dante Spretti did this, and he's Brett's go-to guy.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's Brett's cinematographer since
Money Talks?
No. I think this was their first project together, and then he's done everything up to Hercules with him.
Oh, okay.
So like he became his go-to guy, but
Wow.
he's done other pictures, and he's an Academy Award nominated cinematographer. So I thought the cinematography in this was actually really special. It made the film look like
Effective.
Very effective.
I do
Yeah.
have some notes on like moments that I thought maybe subliminally they kind of affected the way you view
Yeah.
the character.
Can you
in the
elaborate
audience.
on those? Because
Naturally.
I don't have an eye for that. I was like, okay, let me ask Delau.
Well, we can talk more about that right now.
Generating.
but
You're generating.
definitely like I'd say like an 8.7, 8.6,
Okay.
you know, around that. I thought it was.
Dante
I thought it was a good.
Spinotti. I'm sorry, I mispronounced the name, but he's. I think you're right when we talk about the cinematography. We'll deep dive into that, but let's talk about the story a little bit. This film got made. It was one of those scripts that was kind of being tossed around amongst producers for quite a bit. And by the way, the script was written by two gentlemen, who was David Diamond and David Weissman, and they both kind of tailor their films around this kind of feel good. I don't want to say family kind of feel, but that's kind of the films they've done. And they kind of just were picked to write it, and it was tossed around a little bit. And this film was presented to Curtis Hanson originally. Curtis Hanson directed LA Confidential. He directed 8 Mile.
Oh wow.
He actually passed away like 10 years ago, so like he's pretty sad. But he was a great director, and he accepted, and he's like, yeah, I want to do this. And then he decided to direct another picture. Brett Ratner's agent kept telling him, you got to read the script. It's really hot right now. You could really make this how you want. He was wrapping Rush Hour, and he's like, well, all right, let me wrap Rush Hour, and then I'll take a look at it. He takes a look at it. When they pitched it to him, he's like, I'm not interested in making a Christmas family thing. I don't think it's for
Rush
me.
Hour to that guy.
So he read this. He's like, well, I'll give the script a shot. He reads the script, and he got, almost obsessive about this. He's like, I got to make this picture. Again, it reminded him about the films he kind of grew up watching, films from the 40s and the 50s about Christmas and just kind of that tonality. So he was hell-bent on, I'm going to direct this picture. So he kind of had a fight for it. Studio heads, producers were like, I don't know, man. You just did this. Is this really your thing? But he was like, no. He's like, relentless. I'm gonna make this picture. When they finally gave him the green light, he went to Nick Cage. Nick Cage is like, come on, like this is Nick Cage at Nick Cage's prime, right? I mean, we talk about Con Air all the time. Gone in 60 Seconds. So
were those like before those?
I think some of them were, but this was Nick Cage being Nick Cage, right?
Yeah,
so Moonstruck. I think he'd already won his Academy Award for leaving Las Vegas. So this was a different Nick Cage. So he had to be convinced, and what convinced him was he watched Rush Hour. Rush Hour had just come out. Wow. And Brett was like, and he's like, he watched Rush Hour with his dad, and he's like, you know what? I'll work with this guy. I'll do this picture. And then they both kind of put their heads together on who they would cast as the wife. And she was terrific.
Was she the first choice?
I don't know. That isn't clear. But they were very impressed with her right off the bat as soon as they saw her. So I'd imagine that, Brett, because like I said, we saw her in Bad Boys, which wasn't that far behind, maybe 97, 98?
Bad Boys was like 94.
94? Yeah, okay. I mean, but she had kind of developed her career from there, right? So I think something you and I noticed was that Brett uses the same actors for these kind of minor parts, I guess. Don Cheadle.
Rush Hour.
Don Cheadle was in Rush Hour 2. Jeremy Piven had a part in Rush Hour 2.
The guy that does the phone call, the hostage,
Yeah.
We want 50 million.
Right. He was in Rush Hour, and he was like the store clerk or something like that.
Yeah.
I
just
don't know his name. Kind of grab these guys. Good actors. I thought Don Cheadle on this was fun. By the way, when it comes to that, I think you could have played that part perfectly, dude. That Don Cheadle part was like, if I would have seen you in that would have been like a lot of fun.
I mean, you got the jacket,
You do have the jacket.
You're ready to go.
You just need to steal Ferrari in your business.
Yeah, and the little cigar right here.
No cigarillo. Anyways, so yeah, I just think it's pretty special in that regard, and the way it got made was like, it's weird. Sometimes in the studio system, it's kind of like, well, let's just see if this works, and then they bring just the right people together, and it works.
Perfect casting.
So I thought that's terrific. But we're already talking about the acting. So what did you think about the acting?
I think it's superb acting, man. I think Nicolas Cage just did a great job because I've seen him in Face Off, Snake Eyes, where he plays like the crazy guy.
Yeah.
And this one, he just portrays this character of at first he's this man that has it all.
Right.
And then, he gets the whole,
Gets the chance to
go back and see what if I didn't get in that plane or came back.
And you still get a little bit of that like Nick Cage kind of crazy-eyed from the very beginning, which I don't know if you felt like that was too much or if that was just perfect for
like Carlos said, it was enough to me like to get away from Nick Cage and like, all right, this is Jack Campbell. Like, okay.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. But by the way, I think the first thing that made me fall in love with Nick Cage was like the National Treasure series growing up, right? So like,
Face Off. Face Off?
You're 10 years older than me, buddy. You grew up watching Face Off. I grew up watching.
Well, 10 years is too much, man.
Right. No, but no, National Treasure for sure. Face Off. I mean, Face Off was great, and John Travolta and all this stuff. But like,
I don't like the way you said that. But okay.
I just it's action pictures. I'm gonna pick the history buff stuff over action pictures. But
true.
But no, I think National Treasure has set the bar for me with Nick Cage.
Isn't that an action adventure?
That's what I'm saying, but it's not like Top Gun freaking Con Air stuff. It's a little whatever. The point is, that's set the bar for me with Nick Cage, and then I think things changed for me after I saw like Gone in 60 Seconds, and when I saw that was like, oh, he could play something a little more complex, a little more, so like, and then everything else he's done has been pretty great. Leaving Las Vegas and stuff is big too.
Like even Tia Leone, whatever.
Yeah.
She's beautiful, but I mean, a great actress. But what else has she been in besides Bad Boys?
She's been in a few things. She did didn't she do Fun with Dick and Jane?
Oh, that's right. That's right. I really fell in love with her.
She did Jurassic Park.
She was in Ghost Town with Ricky Gervais.
She was?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we saw that over the pandemic too. You screened that for us.
I don't know.
Man, that's true.
But
That's
she
a good
plays
point.
that kind of like family role.
Oh, and by the way, she was also in Tower Heist, another Brett Ratner
Oh,
picture.
what?
You know, she was in Tower Heist.
Which character?
Yeah,
Special Agent Claire Denham.
Oh.
Denham.
She was one of the cops?
Well, she wasn't.
I loved her in Spanglish. Spanglish is probably
okay.
my favorite performance of
So
hers.
she was in a lot. My bad.
She's been in a ton of pictures. That's what I'm saying. But it's one of those things where she wasn't. We don't think of her as this movie star. We think of her as this actress, and I think
true.
I think that's the difference. And we remember her characters. We don't remember her the actress. Remember her characters. So I think that's what's special about her. But Spanglish for me does it with her. She's terrific in Spanglish.
You know another great actress? The little kid.
Oh, she was great.
and you know what's going on.
Her moments. Yeah.
So subtle, but I mean, she just did a great job of
I know.
following
I wonder
Nick
if she went
Cage's
on and
cues.
did anything. I didn't check that out. Or the little girl. I don't know if she went on to do anything else.
But I mean, it like one of the hardest things is directing like what kids and animals.
Her
and
name is Mackenzie Vega, and apparently she was in quite a few things. She was in Sin City. She
dang.
was in 13 Reasons Why more recently in 2018. She's still doing it. She's still doing it. That's really cool.
breaking away from Christmas films. How sad.
You want a sequel to this, Delon? We'll talk to
Yeah,
Brett.
no, we're
It's
gonna
fine.
have a sequel. It's gonna be Kate's perspective, but she leaves
Oh,
on the
dear
plane.
Barbara.
She's in Paris. Then she has a blip or whatever it's called, and then it's gonna be like, what happened?
That
to
would
you?
be interesting, by the way. I don't know if we're just on a Linklater kick where that we would want that, but that would be interesting.
The
I'm just saying.
continuation.
No, but back to the acting. I think that this everybody thinks of Nick Cage being the unbearable weight of massive talent. Nick Cage,
Yeah.
which is fun, right? It's and he
Over the top, yeah.
He's self-aware. He knows what people think about him. But I think Nick Cage is gonna have a comeback pretty soon in terms of performance and in terms
think?
of like I do think so.
Well, did he pay off his debt?
Wow.
What is that? The
No,
guy
well,
makes
he
like
signed
5
up-
films a year, by the way.
That's what I'm saying. He signed contracts just to pay off the debt. Like,
Yeah,
he was
but
Man.
still, he's still coming out in good pictures. Pig was one of the best things
Oh,
we've ever
Pig
seen.
was amazing.
Pig was terrific.
Huge snub.
You know, so huge snub, and that's why I'm saying I think he's getting back to playing these roles. But this really set apart just the other stuff he was working on. Kind of like when we talk about like Brad Pitt doing something like Fight Club as opposed to Oceans. You know, like I think this kind of sets it apart a little bit. There's more layers to this character. I don't know if he had done. I mean, he had done Leaving Las Vegas and stuff like that, but that which got him his Oscar. But I thought this was really special. Like this could have this if there was certain elements about this in the acting that if they would have gone a certain way, if the directing would have gone a certain way, if certain things would have gone a certain way, this could have been tailored as like a Disney movie. And it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was so much more than that. I think so, like a Disney live action movie, right? So,
Right.
and I think that the acting really held that at a top bar. I really do think so. It took us
yeah.
away for 2. I mean, the running time was a little over 2 hours. I think 2+ hours. So it held me, man. And the performances had a lot to do with it.
And
sure.
you really connected with him. I mean, like when he's at the top in this kind of like business setting, you feel
wanna
him
see him
being at
win,
the top.
right? You wanna see him win.
And I mean, a part of it goes to like the dialogue and the way it was written. That he just seems really snappy with it, and he's at the top of his game.
Yeah.
And then having him go down and be like completely thrown off, but then convert into that family man. And
to
then
your
he
point,
jumps straight into it.
In my opinion, what I appreciated about it is it didn't fall into the tropes. It didn't fall into the tropes of like at the time when films were like Wall Street were being filmed, stuff like that. I don't think it fell into the tropes of that. I think because I don't hate Jack Campbell. I don't hate the character. I don't want him to change. For me, it set him up like fine. I didn't care to a certain degree, right? He made me care later, but I didn't hate the character. And usually when they set you up with a character like those tropes are like, oh, he's a jerk, he's this and that. I'm looking around for kids. I know we had kids earlier, so I was gonna curse, but I'm glad I looked around.
We kind of got that when he's about to, when he's flirting with the other girl.
Well,
We kind of got it like
Here's
with
what
the
I was
girl,
gonna
with
say.
what girl?
with Kate. No, not Kate.
No, but that's what I'm saying. But what I mean is when they open the film, when they
Yeah.
introduce
No,
us
I
to
see
the
what
character,
you're
like
saying.
like it didn't fall into the trope of like, oh, he's a dick and he's
he's
a
just
lesson.
a big guy that wins money.
It's fine. Like he's living a certain lifestyle, and that's fine. And then he's actually kind of a good guy trying to intervene in the convenience store.
That was
so that's pretty unique in terms of story. Like it didn't fall into the tropes of like, oh, this is that. No, it's like
it's a really interesting story beat because I mean that moment. You're seeing this guy who's on top. I mean, he's basically getting everything, and there's nothing. He's at a very neutral state, I think, for the audience. But then the second we have that moment where he jumps in and I guess like stands up to like help a grocery store like clerk from getting shot, like that's that big. They call it the saving the cat moment,
right.
And that was big enough where the next I think 30 minutes that you're watching this film being like a jerk of a guy,
yeah, exactly.
You're still able to be like,
a little bit,
okay.
Right?
He's messed up, but he still saves somebody from dying.
Yeah,
It balances out.
No, I thought that was good.
I think it's a really surprising story beat to see it work so well and then carry itself on later on.
You know, Brett mentioned that the reason he did this film too was because, you know, he says, I went with my gut because I didn't want this ending to be passed up, to be told a certain way. Like the ending is what really solidifies, like it has this classic feel to it of the classic kind of Christmas movies that he saw, but the ending is different. It's not what you'd expect. It's not, oh, he decides to stay in this, or he wants, he does want to, but the film could have ended with him staying in this subpar, quote unquote, life that he decides. But
I think there's something special about the fact that, in Christmas-esque films, it's usually a character that doesn't appreciate their family and doesn't appreciate certain things. And then you see that they're miserable. They have to go through a negative situation and get themselves out of that moment. Right. And then come to appreciating it. And this one,
it's a deconstructed version of that.
It's a very deconstructed version where it's kind of like I'd say deconstructed, but also it's a more realistic, or that's what it was attempting to be. It's a more realistic of like, people settle into a life that they're perfectly happy with.
Yeah. And he even said that his character at the end says what he says, like, I could have just imagined all this. I don't know. Like, I could have just had one lonely December night, and I could have just made this up in my head. And that's kind of true. Like, it's not this mind-shattering moment, like, oh, that's an Easter egg. It's like, oh, that's pretty real. It could have happened. Like, you just had a dream about this, and it would have felt really real, and that would have been it. So I thought that was really special in terms of story, and I think that it's unique, man. It's unique in terms of even in Christmas tropes. It didn't fall into those tropes, and I appreciated that.
I always got to be the Grinch in this. So you guys liked the ending?
Yeah, I did. I thought it was good. I liked
the ending because it reminded me of like the Before series, and those moments that are like the test between a romantic and a cynic. If you're a romantic, they stay together, and this blossoms a relationship that they're gonna rekindle. And if you're a cynic, well then, I mean,
she missed a flight, he missed a meeting. They're both gonna whatever.
They could.
But that's more realistic. So that's where I.
So you're a cynic.
I'm a cynic. I would have gone more of the realistic way where like she would have gotten in the plane. Like, yo, you left 13 years ago. Like, move on. I moved on. You should move on.
But I mean,
I know it would have been a Christmas movie, but it would have been real.
I will say this: that like in that moment, I did ask myself like, when she says, "Oh, I'm fine. Don't worry about me." I thought that was kind of like, really? Like, I thought that was kind of like, oh, that's easy. Why are you making the girl the victim in that regard? Like, who cares? She did very well for herself. Why would she be thinking about you?
I kind of found it as like a mirror moment. Like if the same had happened to him, because at the beginning of the film, when he's like debating calling her back, he was thinking, maybe it's just some old flame that, she got.
Oh, it's like a mirror moment for him.
Yeah, it's a mirror moment. It's supposed to be that whole
like oh, she thought of you because she had a box of your old shit.
Yeah,
dude,
she got sad and sentimental on Christmas Day, and then she comes to me like, we could have something, and it's like, you're fine. Like, I'm fine.
Here's your box.
Yeah, here's your box.
Right.
And then what happens that it throws it in his face again. Now she's saying, I'm fine. And it's that mirror that he's the one who's doing exactly what he thought she was.
But they both led similar paths, right? And then it must have been because of that moment 13 years ago, right? Like, he never married, went to the top of his game. She never married, went to the top of her game. But they were obviously still kind of thinking about each other, in some. Oh yeah. She wouldn't have stopped. She wouldn't have turned around one final time if that didn't matter. Should have been like, this dude's crazy. It's been 13 years. What do you mean we have a house in Jersey and all this stuff? So I thought that was interesting. By the way, side note, that airport scene, we kind of made a comment like, oh, whoa, like we saw the Twin Towers on the screen. Like, oh man, this was pre-2001. Like, that's really like, we don't see these images anymore. So that was pretty great. But Rare moment pre 9/11. You could shoot at airports, and it was a thing, and it was an easy thing.
You can't shoot anymore.
I mean, no, not
It's
really. They
really
create
hard.
sets
It's
now.
just a lot more.
It's high security, high risk, right? So like,
Also, you can't just like, oh, I'm gonna leave my car and run straight through the airport.
right. So
That's
that's
true.
one
That's
of the
not
rare.
realistic
That's
now.
one of the rare moments
because I'm
like,
in love.
that they note. Like, this was shot at JFK or wherever they're at the airport. They were actually there, you know. So I thought that was interesting. And New York too, by the way. It's almost impossible to shoot in New York anymore. And they shot on the streets of Manhattan, and in Sleepy Hollow, they shot a ton of this in Sleepy Hollow when the foliage is still kind of fall.
Yeah.
So it's just like key practical moments in filmmaking. We don't get those anymore. We create sound stages and we do this stuff. So
it's a special moment. In the
right,
film.
maybe that adds to
And then
authenticity. By the way,
Christmas happens.
maybe that adds.
That's
to
not changing my
authenticity.
rating, dude.
No, I think it adds to authenticity. I think it really does. And by the way, another thing that scaled this this film into the next level, in my opinion, and I'm really biased. My favorite composer, my favorite cinematic composer is not John Williams. It's Danny Elfman, and he did the score for this. And partially is because he scored my favorite film. He scored Good Will Hunting. So like, I like him. I like the trajectory of his career, the Tim Burton stuff he did, but also when he does pieces like this. So I thought that was really cool. I thought for Danny Elfman to do the score to this was really.
Did
remember
you
him from
feel
The
at
Wanted.
all?
The Wanted?
Does he do the score for The Wanted? I remember him. Danny Elfman.
Maybe. I haven't seen the film, so
What?
sorry.
Elfman gets around. So
I love him, man. I think he's really underrated, and I mean,
I thought, if anything, and I mean, I hadn't known more about Danny Elfman, but I thought, if anything, the score might have detracted some of the points.
really,
And the only reason I'm saying that is because I think there's a trope that does happen in it happens in Christmas films, specifically
Which one?
Hallmark films.
Ugh.
Which
Lifetime.
oh,
right?
I don't know
Lifetime.
that was it because to
No,
me
no,
this
but
felt
hear me out.
more to like Home Alone score than it did.
No, it's
like,
because
Hallmark.
here's what I'll say. There's some films that you see, and it happens a lot in Hallmark films, where you have a very short amount of time to create a romance or a connection between two characters.
Sure.
And you use everything you can to your advantage. So you're using camera,
To
you're using
pull on the
lighting,
heartstrings.
and then
Right.
you're
but-
like, okay, we really need to make this interaction like really hit. So then it has
Right.
that score and it swells. And from them being like, I don't know, at the grocery store checking out, then they go into this emotionally vulnerable state, and then they profess their love to each other, and then Christmas happens.
Yeah,
And
but
it's
where do you draw the line? I mean, where do you draw the line? When they do it in Hallmark Hall of Fame movies or whatever, it's cheap, right?
But I mean, in this, that's where I was thinking. I mean, the score is really well done
Yeah.
because I think it does it effectively.
right.
But it does have those moments where, like, I even brought it up when he's watching the old tapes and he's gonna sing the song. And at first, he just cues his friend, and his friend starts playing the piano and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that was
and
one.
then a few seconds later, then a violin starts coming in,
But
and I was
that's
like,
yeah, and then I told you I was like, that's non-diegetic.
That's-
That's what we're feeling
No, but
inside
It's
the
not
long.
somebody do their.
that part. I mean, that's impressive. But I mean, it also is. It's one of those like little things of like, let's really hide in this moment because, and after the video ends, then the music still swells and he's pensive.
But you know what, I think
and
that's-
Christmas is over and he's sad and it's just.
I think meekness is power under control, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the definition of it being meek. And I think that Danny Elfman is that. So, like, when Danny Elfman, I mean, he's also a comedian, right? When he needs to be grand and do the Nightmare Before Christmas and bring something to life like that, he does. But when he can draw it back and do a piece that's just going to heighten the moment, that's like, isn't that the definition of a great composer?
Yeah.
He's not heightening himself. He's
I
not
agree with
trying to
that.
draw his signature on the song. He's making the film, he's making the scene kind of come to life, right? So
Okay.
I think that's the definition of a great composer. And by the way, like, we saw the Fablemans and John Williams. I didn't realize that was John Williams until I realized it was John Williams, and that's very impressive. He's like 90 and still doing this very effectively just to heighten the film, not to make another Star Wars score that he knows people are going to recognize.
Yeah.
So I think that's what Danny Elfman did here. He didn't do Nightmare, but he did.
He did the justice to the film
Yeah.
where it was needed. Okay.
It's
Exactly.
rare. It's rare, especially. I mean, this was 2000. He'd already developed his name a bit.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I think Elfman really brought something special to this. Like I said, if all these elements didn't perfectly fit together,
Yeah.
this film would have suffered.
Yeah.
It would have fallen into the like, that's just another Christmas movie I'm never gonna watch again. But
Maybe,
it is, you know.
I don't know. To me, it just seems like it hits these marks really well on a lot of different areas.
Cinematography.
Cinematography.
Let's
let
go
me
into
say
that.
I was taking a few notes, and I thought some interesting things is, cinematography is sometimes like a subtle art that goes unrecognized. What I liked is that at the very beginning of the film, when you look into the way it was being shot and the colors and all the kind of lights of him going into the office building and singing and all that, it made it extremely warm and it made it extremely comforting that then when we cut into these scenes where he's outside and all that, you saw the temperature change, the light being a lot harsher. I thought it was really interesting how subtle all that was, but it really helps push that kind of like, he went from having a great life to this cold, unfamiliar, like jarring life. Like instead of just having a camera that kind of panned around all the all the room when he woke up on Christmas Day, it's a lot of these quick close-up cuts, and it really puts you in that environment.
It gets warmer in suburbia once he's comfortable in his
skin.
And
it gets warmer at the end, and it was that nice little, I guess, kind of like cinematography bookend. It was this kind of like this life that you thought was extremely cold and you couldn't adapt into, and now that's your warmth. And then they show back the apartment that was warm at the beginning, and that's cold now. And it's
by the way,
subtle, but it punches.
This cinematographer, again, this is why it's impressive to me. This guy comes from like Heat and LA Confidential and these kind of and of course, if he's gonna be Brett's guy, like he's gonna be, those are his strengths. He did Red Dragon, he did a bunch of stuff After the Sunset, did stuff like Prison Break. So like for him to do this for me is impressive, and what really drew me, you're absolutely right, the effectiveness and the color was terrific, but the camera movement, we all know Brett, we all know Brett's a fan of these, like, he loves Casino, he loves Goodfellas, of these fast-paced camera heavy steady cam stuff. But this, for instance, a shot stood out at me that probably shouldn't have.
Which one?
When he's in the job interview, quote unquote, right? He's sitting there, he goes to grab a drink of water.
Okay.
And when he walks back, we get the Wall Street camera follow. He has the power in the frame, so the camera's down here. He's walking towards them with power. And it's just this follow through. And then it turns around, and then now the ball is in their court because he's kind of solidified his power. Right? That was so effective.
Extremely
effective. It was so effective. And there's these moments like that to me. Like, obviously, when one of the key moments, it's probably a Christmas moment when the snow falls. I told you that's super important.
Change.
We see the camera rise or the camera fall. We're on him. We see the snow dropping. Camera falls, and now he's kind of got the whole frame. And it's that shot of wonder, that shot of almost a hero shot.
The shot that caught me is another one of these bookend shots where, again, harsh lighting, but you see where half of his face is really well lit, and the other one's in this kind of full-on darkness.
Like a Rembrandt? I mean, it's a Rembrandt without being a Rembrandt.
It's a lot harsher than a Rembrandt, and it's also a very 50-50 split. And in that, it's at the same beats where the snow's coming in.
Is that a shot, or is that a tell to the DP? Is that a lighting thing that you really...
I think that's a lighting thing.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think that was another way to kind of show... an internal divide within Jack's character, because in that moment he's seeing a life that maybe he's seeing that life that he could have lived, and then he's seeing the life he has now, and it's giving you that kind of split. But the bookend happens at the end, and I noticed it again where then he sees himself where he knows he's going to go back to that old life, and now he's at that split again, and it's the same split, and the lighting ratios are very even, very soft. It looks very pleasant. Those shots were only used like twice in the film to really split them up.
Was it also when he was in the bed, when he wakes up finally, the last night?
Well, I mean,
I would say he's split there, but he's...
No, but the interesting thing about that shot, the day when he wakes up and he's back in his room,
they're being
now
cheeky.
He's covered in that kind of darkness. There's very little light on him, which shows that old part of him, that warmth, is now gone, and he's back in the shadows.
That's pretty good.
But they're being cheeky. I mean, it's pretty layered. They're being cheeky, like, let's just make the audience not know where he's at. Let's make him, if he's back in his apartment,
at the beginning,
right? Like in the beginning. But the reason I say it's cheeky but effective is because that's how he feels. He doesn't know where he's at. He doesn't know, like, waking up the next day, like, oh, am I back in my old life? So I thought it's effective in that regard. It's effective. In that regard.
A kind of element I wanted you to go into a little bit more. There was a lot of expositional dialogue. There was a lot of like him kind of saying these moments where he's like, oh, so you're a lawyer. Oh, so I work at Jack's Tires. Oh, or Big Al's Tires. Did you feel like those detracted, or the story did
You know
a well
what?
enough job to actually make it where you're
in any other film, I
would.
would have been pissed off. Like in any other film, I'd have been like, all right, dude, you get it. But something about this, I think it's just that Christmas element where I'm like a little more forgiving. But something about this was fine about it. Like it made me play catch up, just like with him. So I thought it was effective.
Okay, yeah,
you know,
that's pretty good.
it made me play catch up. Like if you know what, I don't remember feeling this way when I saw it for the first time, but I felt this way tonight. Like, oh, that's right, he's playing catch up on. And you want to know just as much as he does, like, what do they do?
Exactly.
Where do you work? What are you doing now? What do you? So like, I thought it was great.
I guess those expositional moments are also like big for him because
Yeah.
it's not it's not this like, oh, I guess I work here. It's figuring out like, oh wow, your father had a heart attack and I needed to step up, and that was a big moment in our lives.
Yeah.
You know, because
It's the question we're all asking ourselves, right? Like, why did you come back and why did you settle for this? And it's like, oh, well, ultimately it's because you loved her. It's because her father had a heart attack and you don't want to leave her and you want to stick around and you want to see this through. And you thought, well, okay, if I'm going to settle, I'm going to settle with her.
You do know
So, like,
that by you saying that whole moment, like he loves her and all that, Drew's gonna come later on and say, "Why didn't you love this film more?" Because they fell in love.
No, but that's
and it
the
was
point, right?
sappy,
That's
and it was
the
wrong.
hard way. I know
It
he's
was
already
wrong.
nodding at me.
Yeah.
No, that's the point, though, right?
It's a Del Torre special.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
Love.
it's great. It's great. And again, to Brett's credit, when do you ever see a Brett film go through these arcs that way, right? Like
That's
this
true.
sentimental arc. So whether that's a credit to the script or credit to the performances, but ultimately the director has to oversee all that, right? So it's directly a result of his directing. So I thought it was effective, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the expositional moments. I enjoy that the exposition is shared. It's not just Nick. Sometimes it's Piven's character catching him up. Sometimes it's his wife catching him up. So like, sometimes it's the kid. It's the kid, his daughter catching him up. You know, so
really
that was.
cool.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
And then that line kills me at the end. Like, I knew you'd be back.
Yeah,
You know,
when he's on the
that's-
that
song.
really warms your
Terrific.
heart.
Terrific.
Yeah.
I think we're getting ready to ask some questions. Get some questions from the audience. Thoughts,
We're just
comments.
about. I had one last little note.
Okay, let's do it. So
Let's-
get ready with your questions and
Yeah.
thoughts, opinions, whatever you want to come up and talk to us about.
Yeah, Luis and Mom. Get ready with your questions. No, was the cake scene romantic?
Oh my
Did it-
gosh. I didn't
were you
really
like-
That's actually a good
Wow.
question.
Did you?
Sure. Sure. Yeah, by
Sure.
definition it is. I
In
mean,
the mo-
until,
in the
By
moment-
definition.
until it isn't, right? I mean, he kind of ruins it at the end, according to her.
Okay.
By the way, I would have thought you would have gone for that. Like, her character was
No.
on the, like, you know,
Yeah,
But
edgy
she's-
side.
on stairs.
Well, not on
Rad.
stairs. I mean, that's not
You got
not
me
the point.
hot.
But
You got
that
me
was an
hot.
actual line. It got me hot.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, yeah, sure, it's romantic by definition. I don't think you see it as romantic because of this stupid YouTube video you like to play.
No,
periodically.
that's his fault.
We'll put it on right here so everybody can see.
No, don't put it on. Don't.
It'll
ever
ruin
show-
the scene for you.
ruin
Because now
the
I
line.
see the scene. I'm like, great, that's where it comes
No,
from. That's
I
true.
guess. No,
That- just to set it up for everybody,
Yeah,
we're not gonna.
'cause-
It's like this cartoony song version of that scene that's just dumb
It's
for the
like
sake of being dumb.
14 years old.
It's like 14 years old, and it's whatever, right? But it's
Yeah.
it's Nick Cage. It's something you'd think Nick Cage probably would have produced, like in his
his spare time.
on a side note,
I'm gonna make this.
on a
you
side
know?
note, like credit to the acting. I mean, these kind of like family moments and playful banter. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody sold it. All the family sold it. Even the person who plays Ari Goldman. What's that?
Oh,
actor's
Jeremy
name?
Piven.
Jeremy
Yeah,
Piven. He's
I
terrific.
thought he sold
He's
his
terrific actor.
like role really well, and you know the whole like.
And he
best
wasn't,
friend
by the
thing.
way, in terms of versatility, he wasn't Ari.
Oh,
He
no,
was,
no.
He
Hell
was
no.
Mr. Suburbia playing in the bowling league.
Yeah.
He was the guy with the bar in his house.
Best
Like,
friend, yeah.
I thought
Dude,
all
straight.
the actors did a great job. I was really surprised with I forgot what her name was, the character, but the one who wanted to initiate the affair. And we talk sometimes about actors having those little like kind of subtle moments, and she had these
when
really,
when her eyes widen up,
her
right?
eyes widened and her lips like quivered just a little bit, but you really felt this intimate vulnerability.
Especially
And
that first interaction was like.
it was
The
incredible.
that
It
monologue
was
in the bowling
incredible.
alley, I thought was really good. And she delivered that really well.
I know it's a small beat,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
important for the film because then it kind of initiates
Absolutely.
Nick Cage's growth, but
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
really
Well,
good.
it initiates him wanting to like almost revert to his old lifestyle right away.
No, but there were so many.
Until
And then you get
Yeah.
Jeremy Piven's
Yeah,
kind of
Jeremy
like,
Piven's kinda
no,
like,
no,
so-
you can't do that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
but
great,
I
that's
was
great.
really impressed by the full like cast. I
Yeah,
mean, this
yeah.
ensemble, I thought knocked it out of the park.
Absolutely,
So, yeah.
I couldn't agree more.
Those are my
Absolutely.
last little notes before we transition.
All right, guys. Well, if Mr. Austin Young will raise the microphone, if you come over to Mr. Austin Young, we have a microphone here. If you guys can just come on up and ask a question or leave.
Or if you want to tell us
Just
what
a
you thought of the
thought, yeah,
film.
whatever thoughts you might have on the film, if any. If not, we'll turn it back over on this side. But
And-
anybody have any questions
Just
or
ask
like,
whatever.
hey, I would thought this was core. I thought this wasn't really well, or hey, I
You know
gave it
what?
this rating. Whatever you guys want. Anybody want to come
Here's a
up?
new
and-
segment. It's called Reyes, my guy, man of the hour. I want you to just sit in that really cozy chair and tell me what you thought.
Now that I was picking on people in the audience, I want
I
everybody
know.
at home to see this.
I'm not putting you on any spot. I'm putting you on a chair.
Yeah, because if you don't speak into the mic, people at home won't hear you.
Yeah,
So
that's our
kind of the
reasoning,
deal.
right? It's
No, it really is.
No, I'm kidding.
I guess going back to like the whole little thing about having a bunch of Easter eggs throughout the movie
Okay.
and how he's trying to figure out who he is.
Uh-huh.
I found it really interesting because like even in the tape,
Oh, I thought that was a good moment.
on the background,
Yeah. the
she's
whole
like
video,
looking at
the video.
him,
Oh,
checking him
yeah,
out. And
that
stuff.
That was a really good moment.
Strictly
Hero?
like his wife, and then you see the lady.
The lady in the
Yeah,
back.
it's just like those little things. I was like, oh,
That
you
was a
know,
good moment. You're right.
it makes
You're
you
right.
have a story. I don't know. I like him finding out who he was, but we're also finding out
looking
what
at
too.
You found that effective for you? Like you found that like, oh, I want more of this, or
Yeah, no, I was like, then I started looking for like little subtle things.
Oh,
throughout the
cool.
movie,
Yeah,
too.
Cool,
that
cool,
was
cool,
really
cool.
Yeah.
Rating.
Rating?
Yeah, you can either give your Christmas rating or
And you don't have to look
rating.
at the low when you say.
yeah. Look, it's just-
No, I think it's a really good Christmas movie. It gives me like, I like the. It's not on your face too, but it's a Christmas movie.
Had you
True.
seen it before?
No, it's my first.
So this is your first time
seeing
screening it. Great.
That was
Okay. Cool.
It was a good movie. I loved it.
1 through
I'm-
10.
1 to 10.
There's a right answer.
I think 8. Like just 8 for Christmas.
8?
8 for 8.
Eight.
That's
overall.
been the
right here.
consensus.
Yeah.
The consensus. Yeah.
All right,
Okay,
all right.
cool.
Great.
So, anybody else?
Reyes, right?
Yes,
Reyes.
Reyes.
Thank you.
Hey.
Round of applause.
Reyes kicked it off. Ladies and
For
gentlemen, anybody
somebody
else
who-
want to come
Drew,
up and
Drew.
give some? Oh, Drew, you're just being put on the spot. Our fellow film commissioner
Oh,
here.
this
in-
guy's
Oh, do you have any more fun facts about Drew?
besides being the most awesome person in El Paso.
Yeah, I mean that's the only fun fact you need, right?
Exactly.
Fun fact: wears Under Armour sweaters because they're the warmest.
Now this was Drew's first time, I think.
Seeing it? Or...
First time to see it. Yes.
Wow. Okay. So,
What'd you think of it?
Yeah.
how'd you feel about it?
Did you think it was a Christmas movie, like a good Christmas movie?
Well, I didn't see the very beginning, but no, I didn't think it was a good Christmas movie.
Wow.
Because you missed the.
No. I feel the man. He knew what was happening.
It was a snowy movie, but it was.
It was no way. So in other words, the La Fargo is not a Christmas movie. Okay?
Exactly.
It's not
I
just
don't-
because there's
I don't
snow
care.
everywhere.
Yeah.
If there's snow,
And The Thing
I
is
feel
not a
warm and
Christmas
fuzzy.
The
movie.
thing is not a Christmas
Yeah.
movie.
No,
According
I
to
gi-
Eric,
I
it
give
is.
a-
I think it is a Christmas movie, right, Eric?
I give
The
it a
Thing?
4.5
Whoa.
As a Christmas
Why?
movie or
as a movie.
as a movie?
And I tell you
Wow.
why. It's
Okay.
like, for me, if you're going to go into this supernatural thing,
Okay.
Uh-huh.
because there was no explanation for why this happened to him,
Yeah.
that it just is. I think it loses that mass appeal by not continuing it through the entire story. Because I don't think the movie would have been anywhere. It would have been way better
Uh,
if he had woken up and she was there. And because I was like, oh my God, those kids are gone.
but don't you think? Don't you think it would have been?
You know,
right.
and the-
Right.
and
Yeah. But don't you think it would have been? It would have fallen into the tropes doing that. Like it would have
Yes,
fallen
exactly.
into the Freaky Friday
Yes,
trope. Into the
yes,
like.
exactly.
It would have
And-
been cheesy. I think.
and
No,
that's
this
the
is more
reason
grounded.
This movie didn't do better than it did.
Wow.
Is this like a well-known Christmas classic?
Not at all. Whoa,
No.
amongst
Hey,
certain
apparently
people.
only to me.
And the Lao household.
So
no,
I'm
it
just,
is.
I'm just saying,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, I think if you're gonna make this kind of romantic,
Mass appeal.
sweet movie like that,
Here's
you
the
gotta
thing.
go all the way.
Yeah.
At least in its time, right? It came out in 2000. It like tripled its budget in the box office. So it was a hit.
I-
It was a hit.
Yeah, it was a $60 million movie.
Yeah. and it made about
The
180.
gross I saw was 72 million.
That's what I saw too. That's what I saw.
No, I saw like
Yeah?
one
No,
something.
I
I saw
mean,
it.
Well, as
I don't know what language you saw it in.
Maybe right. No, or maybe that was domestic versus worldwide.
Possibly.
But it did get triple its budget.
But anyway, I thought and I was really hoping that there was going to be like a MacGuffin and it was something in the box because they didn't tie the box in to this thing, and I was hoping it was going to be a little something that his daughter
What
had.
box?
Yeah, the one with the perfume.
The box
I
of his
guess.
stuff.
Oh,
Yeah,
It's because
And the thing is on these types of movies, audiences crave that connectivity, and what really satisfies, in my opinion, in these types of movies, is when it does do exactly what you hope it's going to do.
It follows through.
Because they,
I don't know.
that's all.
No, that's
that's
fair.
good.
That's
That's
totally
Now,
fair, and
if
that's
this
great
had
insight.
been like Sean Penn and some other female actress, and it was like more gritty, and it was handheld, and it was shot by like Ed Lackman or somebody other DP, maybe this ending would have been okay.
Wow.
Come on, Delo. Pick better movies, man.
Wow.
No, that's great insight.
But
Joe. That's great
so
insight.
any movie above 3 is worth watching in my rating system.
Interesting.
Oh,
Okay, so
okay.
watch it,
But
but
it's definitely
definitely
under
great
5.
insight. There. Give it up from
Hey.
Drew Mayer. That's great insight.
Love to appreciate you. Have a Merry Christmas.
Have a Merry Christmas and watch a Christmas film. Anybody else, guys, want to come and give some thoughts, opinions, questions,
Tell us we were
ratings?
wrong, we
Tell
were
us we're
right.
wrong. We love to argue.
We do.
Well,
No?
on
Oh,
a
you know
side
what?
note-
I want to pick on your mom a little bit. I just want to know how this all came about to be a Christmas tradition.
Yeah.
If
Why did
if
you give
remember,
me this film? Now we have a finger to point at.
now we have a finger. It might have been your dad, and he's not here to hear.
Honestly,
today.
it's like,
It probably was.
bless his heart. You know,
It's not a typical Christmas.
Oh, can we get you on the mic just so because we'll lose audio if we don't.
Your opinion and then a rating.
Well, I want to know why it's
Well,
it's a tradition
yeah.
in the Delao household.
Fun fact
If-
about my mom, she's the reason I'm here. Go ahead.
right.
It's not. I don't think it's a typical Christmas movie.
Right.
But it's our family's typical Christmas movie
Yeah.
because we watch it every year, and I just think it's it just falls into the genre of appreciating a family life as opposed to chasing the dollar bill.
So don't chase your dreams as a filmmaker, okay? You need to stay home
I don't
and be
chase-
with your family.
Don't second guess. Just do
Get
it.
a job at a tire place. I'm sorry. I'm totally kidding.
I've tried.
Opening the tire company.
They don't want me.
No, so we just enjoyed it as a,
As a
you know,
family.
I guess when you have a family and maybe you didn't pursue the almighty dollar, and but you still have a good family life, you appreciate that kind. But it's a good good movie.
Sure.
And that's where maybe I disagree with Castro. If it's a Christmas type movie, all Christmas movies you want them to have a happy ending because it's Christmas.
No, that's true.
No.
If it was a Christmas.
Yeah. Take that. From my mom of all people.
No, that's good. No, but that's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, man.
Quick question.
Yeah.
We have plenty of people that came. Did you guys like the movie?
The smile.
I feel like he's got something to say.
And I'm sorry, we don't have a camera on them, but
Really?
really.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
We have one other person who has watched it more than
So it is a
us.
cult, I guess, kind of cult, Christmas movie. Although it seems to be a lot of people who do, right? But it's not the Grinch, but there are families who do watch it every Christmas. Okay, yeah. All right,
This-
but you all felt kind of in the middle of it, or
I feel like he has an opinion.
Yeah.
He's got something to say.
what is it? Come on, man, come on,
It's all
give
good.
it.
Hey, this is the fun part.
It's a very firm.
You want to come up
alongside-
if you want to. If not, no worries. Yeah, if you want to come,
I don't know what you guys need for.
you would come. Just come up to the
come
microphone,
up
just
and
so we
just-
can. Yeah, absolutely. Come
And
on
just
through.
Give us your take or whatever.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What's your name?
My name's David.
David.
David,
Thanks for
thank you
coming
so
in tonight and screening a film with us. But we're all of you. But
I don't know. I thought I was sort of. I agree with the gentleman here. With sort of like the mechanics of how the dream miracle
Uh-huh.
aspect works. But what I thought was, I don't know if I want to say scumbag, but I thought it was kind of weird, the Don Cheadle character. Like, if he's like supposed to be like an angel and like, he puts on tests, like, what the hell was he like? Yeah. And then I don't know. I thought with the first with the whole lottery ticket, I'm gonna shoot somebody, and maybe this is a test of character. Right. And it's like if everybody fails, like is he gonna kill somebody? Like, by the way, I don't know.
You cut the moment at the end, right, when Don Cheadle the lady puts down a $1 bill, and then he says, "Oh, out of 10," and he gives her change. And then at the very end, he's like, "Ah, man, she messed up her chances." Like, he's this very vindictive angel that just goes around being like,
and I was he's playing God, right? As an angel,
because I thought he was actually being nice. Like, oh, maybe he knows this girl's struggling, so he's gonna give her that. Was he gonna redeem himself? And then he goes like, "Oh, she failed," and I was like, "This guy's what a scumbag!" Like, he gives Nicolas Cage.
That's interesting. Nobody talked
to hell for $9. I hope you're happy.
Yeah. Nobody talked about that. That's good insight, man.
Yeah,
that's
cool. I don't know. I thought that aspect was kind of interesting. Yeah,
that is
because I was like confused in that way where like I thought maybe like at the end there was gonna be like another scene with him and sort of like explain more or less like what his thing was, but then it was like nothing. I was like, my impression was,
I get where you're coming from. And I love that it's really divided, right? And the reviews say the same, by the way. It sits at about a 53%, this film, on Rotten Tomatoes. So I get where you're coming from, and I totally see that. I didn't need it. To me, it was like the ending set it up for me. It was like, I didn't need it. I didn't need to know more about his character. It's like, but I can see how like, oh man, it would have been nice to know this dude's deal. Like if he's gonna,
especially for me, like giving like the nature of like those two tests where I was like, what the hell is he? What is his deal? Like, what is he?
Did you also kind of agree with him in the sense that to be like, I guess, a good film in general or a good Christmas film, it needed to have I guess kind of like more of those, what would you call them?
Christmas moments?
No, like heartfelt moments. Like, would you have liked it if they kind of gave you the character at the beginning like really sad and then brought him into this other life and then he kind of goes and fixes that? Or did you like, I guess, the way that this kept you on your toes? Because it's very different than a lot of the other Christmas films that are out there.
I don't know. I guess for me, part of the problem of like I didn't dig the movie that much is I feel like it sort of plays in the middle where it's trying to be like It's a Wonderful Life type classic, but then at the same time it's like, oh, but I'm trying to do subversive things where like, oh, the ending isn't that clear, but I think it doesn't lean either way into like it sort of plays the classic, and I thought it was gonna go classic all the way, but then it kind of doesn't, but I don't think it went that far left either way.
And what's weird is that I thought it was combining like we have many good looks coming from the side, but I thought it was combining like a couple of classic tales, like the kind of Scrooge character where you see him in the tale.
Don Cheadle is the ghost of Christmas, whatever.
Yeah, I thought they were playing into that because in like Scrooge, he takes the money over his love and then later on realizes that that's kind of what embittered him later on, and that's what ruined his life, and then he goes through this internal transformation. And here, in a more realistic sense, left the girl that he was dating and left love, but he ended up with a better opportunity and went into business.
I'd like to ask you something in that regard, and this is the last thing. I'm trying to put you on the spot.
It's cool.
We'll kind of
I'm getting comfortable.
I'd love to know. I'd really love to know this because we're talking about the early 2000s where film was just in a really weird place. And we've talked about that on this podcast. But by definition, I looked up the budget, right? So you're right, 60 million, but it made 124. So it doubled its budget. It was a hit by definition, right? So do you think that if it would have played more into this magical realism, aspect that you enjoy in Christmas movies, I think it probably would have bombed. Like people would have felt it was too cheesy or too on the nose. So I think it wouldn't have been as interesting for people, wouldn't have been as fresh for people. But do you think it would have done better or worse if it did follow those kind of like those moments?
I don't know. I mean, that's a tough
like
question.
It probably would have done better for you as a film, right? Like it would have been rewatchable more for you if it did.
I don't usually go for that type of like sort of miracle, feel good.
Yeah.
I don't usually go for that. But I mean, I don't know if we put it on the time, it was like the Matrix come out like a year before Fight Club.
Right.
So I don't know if audiences were like in a different sort of mindset.
Yeah.
I think they were, but that's my opinion.
So I think So I think maybe this going to like, oh, this is sort of like It's a Wonderful Life, and then but trying to
modernize it.
modernize it, but not enough, or
Right,
I feel like that's sort of where the disconnect is. Where
Yeah.
Cool.
you were trying to
Cool,
watch
cool.
it.
I like
but,
that. I like that.
But thank you guys for doing this.
So much for
No, thank you.
Appreciate it for coming up.
yeah, awesome. Give him a hand.
Round of applause.
Screw Don Cheeto.
Drew's ready to throw his phone at me. So on that note, no. Anybody else, guys? Before we wrap it up, any other thoughts, questions, notes? Yeah. Even if you're divided and you did or didn't enjoy the film, it looks like everybody had a good time tonight screening it with us. So thank you guys for joining us and for interacting with us. So this is what we advocate on this podcast. This is what cinema's all about: to create conversation, to spark interest, to spark thought. So thank you guys for joining us in that.
Do we have any final ratings?
No, the law, nothing changed.
Nothing changed the law.
No, I'll be honest with you. I'm still at an 8. I can understand and appreciate, but that didn't change it for me. I mean, it's great. It's great where it's at. I'm cool.
Mine actually went lower. Thanks to this guy right here.
Where are you at now?
I'll put it at the middle ground at 5.
Whoa! It dropped 3 points.
He made a lot of sense. I want to go hang out with him.
Brett, I'm sorry. Brett, you.
His thumb.
Oh no, baby! It went down to what?
How much?
5.
5, solid 5.
It went from a 6 to a 5. You went from an 8 to a 5.
Okay.
I'm at an 8. I'm happy with it. It's fine.
Quick question, because I missed a few people in the room. I know that my other lovely family members who came out tonight also watched it for the first time.
First time watchers.
Yeah, actors, by the way.
Second time.
Okay.
Those?
I'm sorry, I got the facts incorrect. But actors, by the way.
They are actors. They're creators.
And I thought this had a lot going for the acting, but who knows? Lovely family, did you think this was a good film? There, we have a nod.
They don't need, that's being biased.
They don't need to give points
Hello.
and arbitrarily judge Christmas.
Hey man, we go
That's
to tables.
Yeah.
Yes and no.
Oh my God!
You're breaking his heart.
You're not invited this year. Oh my goodness.
As a Christmas story, I didn't feel the Christmas feel.
That seems to be the consensus all around the law. I'm sorry.
Damn it.
I'm sorry.
We needed to develop the characters more.
Brett,
all in,
we
yeah.
need a Family Man sequel with more Christmas in it. That's what we're hearing from the
Go all
audience.
in,
Just
like
more
you said, go all
Christmas.
in on it.
Had nothing to do
No,
with
but
Christmas.
it's great insight. Great insight. Thank you.
Yeah.
'Cause
Thank you
that's
guys.
Awesome.
Thank you for coming out.
Any final thoughts, guys? Wrapping it up.
Final thoughts. I mean, I don't know what I did to deserve like a lump of coal for Christmas. I
I feel like we've been doing this to your films the past couple picks too. By the way, I'm
Nah,
sorry.
This is great.
This is-
No, I think it's interesting because, like, first off, there is something unique about this film
I agree.
in being just different.
Sure.
I mean,
I
Yeah,
agree.
for sure.
Again, even if it falls in that weird 50-50 space, it's nice that we can have a conversation and
Yeah.
kind of talk about it
For sure.
because
For sure.
it's one of those that, again, like when you watch the film without this kind of discussion, you don't understand all the elements that make it there, you know?
And
Where
I think-
it doesn't throw itself into a high category and
Yeah.
it doesn't throw itself into the bottom of the barrel.
Sure.
So yeah, I really like the discussion overall.
Gotcha.
You know me, man. I like films where I could get just lost in it, and I like one of those films where we've all asked that question: what if I would have went a different direction in my path in life? So I really
It's still
enjoyed
something you could rewatch and kind of think about.
it. Depends what day it is for sure.
Not
By
on
the
Christmas.
way-
You'll watch it in July.
Yeah,
Got
exactly.
it.
By the
So-
way, this is our last episode of the year.
It is our last episode of the year.
It's very exciting.
Very exciting because we're back. And it's because the latter part of the year brought us back to podcasting because we were just itching to do it again and put our filmmaking development stuff on pause so we could just get this back up. But 2023 is going to be a very interesting year for Tower. On the filmmaking side, we have a lot of great projects developed and getting ready to produce. And that's not going to slow down the podcast by any means. We want to come back.
not.
So I agree. It's going to be really cool. And it's been a good year. And the podcast is back.
It's back. And
Beautiful.
thank you again to Aaron and George's Film
Yeah,
Cafe.
Aaron and George's
for
Film
letting us
Cafe,
come out
Doug and
again.
Rebecca. Thank you guys. They're around.
Haven't
I
kicked us out yet.
No. I had a hot cocoa tonight that was delicious. I didn't have my café de olla, but it was a really good hot cocoa. So come through to Aaron and George's Film Cafe. We're gonna, not only are we doing screenings and the podcast once a month here, but we're getting ready to develop something for Oscar season, and that's all I'm gonna say about that. So just stay tuned. Yeah, stay tuned. We're gonna do some cool stuff for the Oscars, and that's all I'll say. Just stay tuned. It's something we're a plan we've developed. But final thoughts on the film. Check it out. I think it's worth the watch. I think
it's a very snowy film.
It's a very snowy film, not a Christmassy film, but a very snowy film. No, check it out. I really do think you should check it out. It's unique in its approach. It's unique in a lot of factors. So
absolutely,
I would check it out and
go watch it now.
Go watch it now before Christmas, because you have like 3 days before Christmas by the time this episode drops.
Yeah.
So, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. This is our final episode of the year. Thank you guys for riding along with us on the WatchTower podcast. Thank you to the live audience. Give yourselves another round of applause. Thank you to my fellow co-hosts, because this is a great chat, and I look forward to this every week.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I know.
And
I'll pay you later. It's fine.
None of you are invited for Christmas.
None of you are invited to the Family Man Christmas party at the Laws.
You know what? It's just me and Mom.
Not
and
your
my
aunt.
brother. Not my Adam Bear. I didn't even know that. I thought we were all really close knit. I mean, I don't know if
some people have like elf Christmas parties or like Christmas vacation. You have a Family Man Christmas party and nobody comes to, huh, pal? I'm sorry.
I thought Nick Cage and Christmas went so well together, and now I'm finding.
I don't think Nick Cage even agrees with that, dude. I don't know what to tell you. No, but it was a great time, and we're gonna have more of this. So thank you guys for tuning in to the WatchTower podcast. Stay tuned for future episodes. Our first episode of the year is gonna be really fun. I think it's Austin's turn next for picking the film. Maybe
no, it's your turn.
Picking or releasing?
That's a good question.
I thought it was
in the mood for love. In the mood for love. In the mood for love. We already recorded it. Happy New Year. You're getting In the Mood for Love episode the first week of January. So check it out. It's going to be really fun. I love that picture. And we had a really good time talking about that picture.
Absolutely.
Wong Kar-wai's In the Mood for Love. Stay tuned for that episode. Stay tuned for more episodes of the WatchTower podcast. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. And we'll see you next year.
Yeah, take
love
care,
you guys.
everybody. Thank you.